Welcome back to Boring Reviews.
Boring land.
Oh, just kidding.
Blasphemer! Hello,
right.
Boring Review Nation!
Kind of pointless.
We know all things.
All right, welcome back to Boring Reviews. Nick here.
Oh, I pointed it right. Nick there, Gabe here.
And we are here today to do a little review of Sarpatta Parambarai. And just a few disclaimers. We watched this, weeks ago. And it was going to be our very first live reaction or movie reaction. I was really excited about it. But because it was our first one, I made a few technical issues. And I don't think we'll ever be able to post it. We keep trying. So anyways, we've seen this movie weeks ago. And I wanted to at least get a review out. We did a small little review at the end of the video, and I could have just posted that, but that was too short. I want us to have a little bit of discussion about it. So we're going to review this film. Yes, it came out weeks ago, and yes, we did watch it pretty currently when it came out.
Right.
But we're going to talk about this film. We're going to review this film as we do. If you like what you hear, go ahead and give us those thumbs up. Go ahead and subscribe if you like the channel, and let us know what other movies you would like us to review and check out. So talking about Sarpata, being that it was weeks ago when we watched, I keep mentioning that we're going to do our best to have our fresh mind. I know that the audience in Born Review Nation were super excited for this film. They weren't super excited for Too Fun, which we both enjoyed. We didn't give it huge ratings, but we both enjoyed it. We gave it a passable rating. And I'm going to say there are a few similarities, not just because of boxing with these two films, but there's a lot of vast differences as well. This is a Tamil film, and this is a film that not only is popular amongst the audience, but has gotten wide praise from around the world. Let me just give you a few of these accolades before we jump into this film. So some of the reaction here, and like everything else, there's going to be some controversy, but this has become the most watched Tamil film of the year on the streaming service Amazon Prime. Wow. It became the second most watched regional film on the platform, only bested by Sararai Patru, which also got a lot of buzz. It many celebrities such as directors and actors among the Tamil film fraternity praised the film through social media. A report said that the film has been watched over multiple households living across 3,200 towns and cities in India, and further streamed in more than 150 countries and territories across the world.
Ooh.
So, and already a shot of the main characters. Some of the main characters has already become a meme that's widely used. This is a film that a lot of people tapped into, and a film that a lot of people loved. Has gotten a lot of high praise. So we're going to share our thoughts about it. Gabe, I'm going to let you start wherever you want, my friend. You are the boxing experts.
Let me start by saying this. This film, as I mentioned at that very first night, okay, I'm torn. Okay, I'm torn on this film. And let me say it right off the bat, the storytelling is phenomenal in this film because they were able, and that speaks highly of the Tamil industry, right? The movie industry, the director, they did such a great job, and the story is so compelling. But the boxing was absolutely atrocious, bro. And as a former fighter, I'm sorry, if you've ever stepped in the ring, those guys, first and foremost, are amateurs. Second of all, when you're watching it, I appreciate, and I'm gonna get crushed, but listen, I've been there and done that. Okay, anybody who's actually been in the ring will tell you, yeah, those guys are real amateurs, and it's almost like when you saw Floyd Mayweather fight, what you call it, whatever his name, McGregor or whatever. You could tell one just didn't belong, or even a Logan Paul, even worse. You know what I'm saying? I actually thought the technicality of the fighting was in Tufan. Okay, the way the fights were choreographed, the way the fighters threw punches, the way the fighters would react, where you could tell they had some real boxing training. Where some of these fighters here were just so sloppy, and some of the things were just also so unbelievable. I'm like I know what they were doing, but to me that it was not sold. Like there was the one guy, what was his name? Who fought for the
Rose? What was his name?
Rose, Rose, the dancer, right? I know who they're going for. They're going for Prince Naseem Ahmed, okay? He was around, it was about 10 years plus since this guy's been out there. And Prince Naseem you know, I forget where he was from. He's a middle-aged fighter, but this dude, yo, he was going in there banging with cats. And every single fighter that I knew at the time was like, yo, this kid's going to get dropped. Maybe it was longer than that. Maybe it was like 20 years ago. This kid's going to get hurt because he had unbelievable power, but he actually looked like that. He was very unorthodox and just throwing shots and dancing on people.
Blowing to the crowd.
Yeah, this kid's going to get killed. This kid's going to get killed. He got in there with a real Mexican fighter. He made it to a championship fight against, I want to say it was either Eric Morales or Marco Antonio Barrera, one of those dudes, and got destroyed. He ended his career. And then after that, he's jumped into the ring a couple more times, and he lost his chin. Every time he got hit, the kid lost his chin. And he had so much skills that if he had had better training, Nick, he was lightning quick. But he would just be out there showboating, like doing what Rose did. And that don't fly, cousin. Not in the ring. I'm going to tear your head off. So for me, like, again, I was watching that. It was driving me crazy. And, like, for me, I had to just get that off my chest. If somebody, and all the people that are talking about it, they have to be talking about the story, which I'll get into, because the story was amazing. Okay, the betrayal, you know, you seeing the people just being their own worst enemies. The way the way the guy himself ended up letting it get to his head, and I don't want to give away the entire story for those people. Everybody should have seen it, but spoiler alert, you know, he becomes a drunk. He lets the fame get to his hair, whatever. We are all our own worst enemies, and this film had a little bit of everything, right? The greatest empires have been destroyed from within. Their clan destroyed itself from within because somebody else wanted to be the glory. All those things were so awesome, so compelling, but you cannot sit here and tell me that when they're praising this film, it was about the technical aspect of the boxing. I'm just not buying it.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. And my rebuttal to that, and I'm not going to rebut too much because you actually know what you're talking about. I only know from watching the Sylvester Stallone films, okay? And what I'm going to say is what I remember them portraying in the film is that they were a bunch of amateurs. It was for street pride. It was for town pride. And even though I'm not going to say those that are just smaller level boxers still don't need to have the technicality of knowing how to box, it was all about that clan pride. So I think the idea was it's supposed to be amateur. I wasn't clear. I kept doing research on this. I'm not going to say for hours, but trying to figure out. It sounds like this was originally conceived from one guy's memoir, some guy's real life story, and then it got, the film treatment, if you will. Okay. So I think some of this is loosely based on real things, but I see what you're saying. For me, if we're going to start in the negative route, let me start with my negative. For me, and this was my biggest negative with Tufan in a different way, I am used to the Rocky Sylvester Stallone film school, okay? It's not a real thing. I'm being completely honest. I'm a huge Rocky fanboy. Right. And in that film school, you don't do more than 2 fights. If you do more than 2 serious fights in that film, it drags on. You know, you in Rocky 3, he has the one fight with Clubber Lang. He gets knocked down, and then he has the redemption fight. Creed 2, the same exact thing. He has the one fight with he has the mini fight at first. That's 3 fights, but that's the first 5 seconds of the film. This film had several different fights, not as much as Tufan. And the reason why is he bringing this up? It doesn't have to be Rocky. I'm not saying it has to be Rocky. I'm not comparing that at all. The reason why I'm bringing that up is, for me, the more fights you have, the fewer stakes each fight can hold, because you're on to the next one and you're on to the next one. Now, this one didn't have a bazillion fights. It kind of walked that line, but I wanted to cheer at every single one of these victories. And I guess if we're talking about the main character, yes, he had just a few main fights and it felt that, but you had the smaller fights. Now, the good thing about that's just a small complaint of mine. And my reason for that complaint, again, is I don't want to be invested in all these different mini fights. I want it lead up to something. The cool thing about that is you got a taste of that culture of that clan fight, where they would have like that boxing day. It was like a card that you would have in a boxing show, where you would have your undercards and all that kind of stuff leading to your main event, and each one's for the clan. And it's like a cricket match. We're like, okay, we won innings 1, we won innings 2, or whatever it is, and we'll see how it goes down. But that's my mini complaint.
Can I rebut that for a second, though?
Absolutely.
And it's funny.
I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for that, too.
Because we're disagreeing there. But here's the thing. That's probably what I like the least about the Rocky movies, especially the Like people were like, "Oh, Rocky." People don't pay attention. Or like, how does some guy that's a bodyguard get into the ring? No, Rocky had been a fighter for years. Okay, he just had never had an opportunity. But he had his very first scene, the scene of that fight. Also, if you remember, it's him fighting. Okay, and he went in a fight a tough way. So I like that part, the journey, because it's not an overnight thing, cousin. It takes time. It's blood, sweat, and tears. And every single fight, it builds up to the next. So I like that. Like, for instance, another movie that is coming to mind right now, that is one of probably my favorite Indian films, was Sultan. Remember Sultan? How he had all the different fights or whatever. You build to it already. So I actually like, because to me it's more realistic. It's not here's one fight and then at the end of it here's another fight. It takes a toll, and you see the many different levels you have to get to a place. What was the other Indian? Dangal, right? Dangal is as well, right? You got to go through the amateur ranks, then you got to go through the pro ranks, then you got to go. It's a long road, cousin. So for me, that's where I would disagree with you. I actually like that. I think sometimes the Rocky movies do that poorly, where they don't show enough fights, and that's just my opinion as a fighter.
You're dead to me right now. But
you're dead to me.
As far as the film goes, this film is very, very exciting. A lot of great moments, a lot of great character building. So quick synopsis. You have this guy. I want to make sure I get his name right.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. You have Arya playing Kabalan. And Kabalan, his dad was a boxer, but he also was a muscle man for different crews or whatever we'll say. Some questionable decisions. And in that situation of being a muscle man, he gets himself killed. His wife, Kabalan's mom, like, you're not boxing at all. I'm not going through that again. You're going to do anything but boxing. But he's just drawn to it. And he's all about the Sarpata clan pride. And so he hangs around daddy and all this kind of stuff, these different people connected to the trainer. And he's just such a fanboy. And he doesn't want his mom catching him anywhere near the fights or anything, because she's just going to smack him around. And I love that fact that she was willing to do anything. I actually really, really loved her character. And I'll get to why at the very end. But that character arc for me was not just a funny thing. Oh, you get beat up by your mom. That's so funny, which they were making fun of. There's a whole art to that near the end, which I absolutely loved. And so anyways, you have these clans going toe to toe. And one clan has Vimbuli, whatever his name was, who was just, no one could stop him. They kept saying their best, the best. No one could even last a few rounds with this guy. This guy was just like unstoppable. And so Kabalan, in this way or another, he finds himself wanting for that pride to get in the ring and to show with pride, with heart, which reminded me a lot of Rocky. It's not about the skills, it's about the heart sometimes, that I can get in there and I could do some things too. And so he gets himself in this situation where he's able to find himself. We have the dancing rose. There's so many. I don't want to give a long synopsis because it would take forever. But the thing about this is Kabalan's got some natural skills.
Right.
You have the argument of the Mary Sue or whatever it is, where someone's just given those abilities out of nowhere. No, his dad had the skills. He's been watching his whole life. He was definitely raw, right? The trainer had to come in and show him a few things and calm him down and say, okay, you got some skills. You got to do this or that. But he was someone that was able to surprise and upset the other clan. At the same time, there's this other guy named Raman who was chosen as the heir apparent to face Vimbuli.
Right.
But he didn't have the heart. And Gabe, he mentions a lot of time when we watched our live reaction, this guy doesn't have the heart to stay in there and take the punches and to just take it on the chin, so to speak. And so Kabalan takes his spot. And what that creates is a whole lot of controversy within the clan with Raman's dad or whoever that guy was who wanted him to have that spot. And you have this whole story very similar to Sultan, right? Sultan was a different reason, but he has this rise and then he has this drastic fall, puts on the weight, gets distracted with other things, wants nothing to do with it, trying to support his family, and then trying to come back. And once again, Tufan, Sultan, we have a situation where a guy puts on the weight and then he gets the weight and he gets shredded again so he can have that redemptive fight. And even with my complaint of so many different fights throughout it, I did like, unlike Tufan, how they space in between with story. And I thought that was done very, very well.
Right.
since I started with the mom character, because I'm all over the place, let me end with why I love the mom character. In his redemption, she was the one that gives us that Adrian moment where she says, I want you to do one thing for me, win. She says, you got to get back in there. As much as I hate boxing, this is where you shined. This is where you were your best person. So you need to get back in there. You need to train with this guy over on the dock, so to speak, or whatever, on the beach. And you need to find yourself again, because you lost. I absolutely love that, because ultimately she wanted to get away from it because she loved him. She wanted to get back into it because she loved him. I love that character arc so much.
Man, and I mean, you did such a great job, by the way, giving a quick synopsis of this film, and still not giving away the total end, but you know, let's talk about a few things there. First and foremost, this is what I did appreciate, and this is what it did get right about boxing, Nick. Okay, there's an old adage, right? What we call gym fighters. You may look good on the heavy bag. You may look good on the speed bag. You could jump all the rope you want, but until you get in there and get hit back, cousin, you ain't a fighter. All right, you got to be able to take that. And so many guys will look on the pads and pop, you know, slip it. Wait till you get hit, because you're gonna get hit. I don't care who you are. Floyd Mayweather Jr., Muhammad Ali, the greatest fighters of all time, get hit. And it's, can you take that hit and keep on coming? All right. So that's the first thing. You know what I mean? What's that line from Blood Sports? Bricks don't hit back. Exactly. You know, punching bags don't hit back. Speed bags don't hit back. That other guy across from the ring from you is gonna hit back. Period. So you got to be able to hit it. And although he was chosen for his clan, he didn't have the heart. He knew he didn't have the heart. All right. So that to me right away shows the reality of boxing. There's a very interesting thing in the real world of boxing where a lot of former fighters' sons are looked down upon, because when they get in the ring, for the most part, these guys are all trash because they've never grown up hungry. Like, you know, like, I got to eat. I'm doing this because I'm trying to eat. I got to feed my family. You grew up in the lap of luxury, especially if your father was a successful fighter, really famous. And with the exception of a few, like a Floyd Mayweather Jr., right? Uncle and dad were both fighters. You know, most of those guys are just trash, right? So a lot of times those guys don't get any respect because they don't have the heart. You saw it in the Rocky film, right? In the Creed film. He's like, yeah, my daddy was a fighter. Your daddy died in that ring. Get out of here, you know, college boy. You don't belong in here. And that was, again, true. That really does happen. So I love the way they portrayed that. The guy himself, though, the main trainer, right, from the Sarpata clan, the one that trains all the boxers, he didn't put his own son in there because he knew his son didn't have the skill, didn't have the heart. Okay, now we're looking at that, and I got to look at that from two different angles. One, he's trying to protect his son, but at the second time, you know, if you're not going to put your own son in there, but you're willing to sacrifice everyone else, you know what I'm trying to say? It shows cowardice, right? Why am I going to respect you? So I see why he didn't put his son there. And then why did you not think your own son was going to resent you? Which he did, which he ended up betraying the main fighter. Who's his name? Yeah, he ended up betraying him, right? So, bro, that's what I'm saying. The storytelling was amazing. Well,
he didn't fully betray. Remember, he at the very end when they're trying to attack him again before that last fight, isn't he there to show up and help out?
He did. Right? He did show up.
He just wanted him to be his muscle man for his you know, questionable alcohol business and everything he also is going on there.
Right.
But I actually really respect Rangan, who's the trainer. I respect him not putting his son, because he knew his son didn't have the goods, and he's not going to do the nepotism thing where you're my son, so you're our guy. You don't got what it takes. Sorry. You know, he's got that mantle of the main trainer and our clan. We need the best, and it ain't you. And he's got the stones to say it to his son. You're right. He let it go too far, because then when he got arrested because of the whole political nonsense, and his son started to get into the other types of situations and try to get here political and do the alcohol thing, he didn't do his job as a father to put his son down the right path. But I respected the fact that he's like, nope, you're not getting a spot because you're my son. Right.
And I guess, again, from a storytelling aspect, that was amazing, right? Because, again, you saw it brewing. You saw the little nuggets here and there, and they kind of led you to it. And you saw, and he did eventually end up in the very first. Remember when they stripped him him naked in the boxing ring? He did end up betraying him. Okay.
Yeah.
And so you see all these things. Like I said, the storytelling part was amazing. My biggest issue with the film was the technical aspects of it. Going on to somebody else we haven't really talked about, Dada, right? The character Dada. Not his real father, but his stepfather, Dada, who's raised him.
Yeah.
And who was also a fighter. And I like Dada's approach. Like, listen, whether you my blood or not, you're my blood. I raised you. You know what I mean? I'll die for you. And I really like that character's arc, that he tried to lead him. And I think that the most authentic thing about this, Nick, and I don't think there's one person that could candidly watch this video and say, nope, I've never done it. We've all, and I say all, it's one of the 7 deadly sins. We've all suffered, okay, from a sloth. You know what I mean? We've all suffered from just too much pride. You know what I mean? It brings you down. It's sloth or pride? One of those two, where, you know, your head gets too big for your britches. Like, oh, I want to fight, I'm the man, or whatever. And you let yourself go. You become a shadow of yourself. And again, other people were influencing him or whatever, but you can't tell me that he didn't play a role himself in that when he won the fight, and now, you know what I'm saying, everybody respects him or whatnot. And it really, I think, tells a bigger story of not just boxing, but of the human condition, where, guys, we are all our own worst enemy. We all, you know, as a nation, as a people, as a country, we tend to destroy ourselves, right? You know, forget about the enemy. I got to worry about my friends. You know what I'm saying? I got to worry about my family. I got to worry about the people closest to me. And again, that was just riveting. That was so great about this film to me. And that's where it really hit the note to me.
This film had lots of layers to it in many different ways. Some quick shouts before I get to what I mean by that. I really like John Cocken, who played Vin Bulley. I thought he played that very, very nicely. You don't have to add too many notes to that character. I thought he did it very, very well. Dushara Vijayan, who played Mariama, which is Kabalan's wife. I thought she was fantastic. She was a very strong character, but she also loved and she was loyal to him to a fault sometimes, and she stuck with him to the end. I thought she did a fantastic job. But this film has lots of layers, and what I mean by that is you have clan pride and you have pride, like what you're talking about. And it was Raman's uncle, not his dad, that was that guy that just kept trying to pull for him. He was willing to betray the clan to show that you made the wrong choice with my nephew not being this, even though he can see him get knocked out. That was such a cool scene where they had the little sparring session, if you will, with Kabalan and Raman, and Kabalan just knocked this guy out. And then even later on, how Raman, in a roundabout way, in his prideful way, he came back and he actually kind of helped Kabalan, where he knocked him out, but he still kind of picked him up. He kind of got his revenge. He got over that, and he was kind of willing to help him out in a little way. The uncle never was, but the uncle was so willing and so prideful about his nephew going that he was willing to let the clan lose as long as Kabalan did not succeed. And you have that a lot, where you are the detriment to your own group because you have to be the guy. And then you have someone like Kabalan, who he stepped in the ring because there was no one else, but he just wanted his clan to have the pride. You'd have the guys like, or the guy like Rangan, the trainer. He was such a complex character because, like you already mentioned about his situation with his son, his relationship with these boxers. He had to make these tough decisions. You have like the whole community there question every decision you make. And he goes to jail for, I think, 4 years or something like that because of the whole political stuff. And then he comes back and he sees his whole clan is in shambles, that his star fighter is overweight and he's just a bruiser right now who can't even walk a straight line anymore. And he has to sit there and figure out what's going on. And then when Kabalan wants to come back, you can see why he's like, no, you're not coming back, because look at where you left this clan. I love that whole pride there. Some of us, we are a clan pride person. Others of us, we are a personal pride person, and those will conflict a lot, not to mention conflicting clans. I really, really love this movie. I really, really love the story. This movie, compared to Tufan, had so much more depth to it, so much more story to it in spades, where you had the personal situation with Kabalan and what he's going through. You had the training, which I love. You had the boxing, which we love. It may not have been so technically sound, but you had the story that backed it up in spades. And overall, I really, really enjoyed this one.
Okay. And I mean, something I forgot to mention, the wife. Yes. Bro, it got so bad with him at one point that he's drunk and he's about to get poked, cousin. All right, and listen, I don't care who you are. All right, a dude pulls out a banger, and that's street slang for a knife, or a gun. You know what I mean? And listen, you're in trouble. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're Floyd Mayweather. I don't care if you're Muhammad Ali. I don't care if you're King Kong Bundy. I don't care who you are. All right, you getting poked. You getting poked, cousin. That's just real. Okay, the wrestler, little WWF back there today. Yes. But you know what I'm saying, dude? Like that's real. And he fell so far down that path of self-destruction that he couldn't even defend himself. And if it wasn't for his wife, he would have got bodied right there, cousin. Awesome. And she was like, no, y'all not gonna kill him. And she stood up for him. I love that scene because, again, it goes back to that whole adage, behind every strong man, there's a strong woman. And she was willing to stay out there and die for him. Like, that was such an amazing scene. It was such a powerful scene. And it kind of made him realize, like, wow, I'm putting my family in danger at this point. The kid is in danger. You know what I'm saying? And it kind of, like, eventually snapped him out of it, of this drunken stupor that he was into every night, just drinking and being a muscle man and thinking that eventually wasn't going to catch up to him. But, man, like I said, yeah, you're right about that, man. The story is absolutely compelling. So many different layers to this film. I think the last thing I'm going to say is that this film is complex for one reason. There was no true protagonist. And I remember mentioning this the very first night, because every one of the characters are flawed. Everyone, okay, is flawed. From his mom, who didn't want to let him pursue his dream, even though she saw it in her son. But because of what happened with the dad, she didn't want to let him pursue his dream. So you would say she stopped him or whatever. And as parents, we got to make sure we don't live our dreams vicariously through our own kids. And many parents make that mistake, right? To the trainer,
Wrong gun.
Is it wrong gun?
Yeah.
Okay, the trainer, you mentioned it. You went back to it. First, he didn't want nothing to do with him, right? The pride issue or whatnot. Then he brings him in the ring. You know, he ends up going to jail because of the whole political stuff. To Ramen, who, like you said, came back and you know, helped him out a little bit. But Ramen didn't have the heart to be the fighter, and yet he betrayed him. Like every one of these characters were flawed, Nick. And that's probably what I love the most about this movie, because we are all flawed. You know the person I don't trust? I don't trust the Squeaky Clean guy. Give me the guy that I can see the warts. Give me the guy that I can see the damage. Give me the guy that I can see. But the guy that's squeaky clean, the guy that don't got no dirt on him, no grime on the fingernails, that's the guy you got to watch out for, because I'm
clean.
Stop it, all right? Stop it. But you know what I mean, bro? That's just the reality. And I think that's what the film depicted the best. And I think that the best films of this generation, of this era, we're not just talking about Indian films here. We're talking about American films. All films in general are the films that really are good at depicting the human condition, that we're all, in our own mind, we're the heroes of our own stories. But there's always two sides to the coin, and we are all flawed, whether we want to admit it or not. The fact that we don't admit it is probably our biggest weakness. And I really love that about this film. Again, it's just the boxing part that bothered me the most. But those are my thoughts on the film.
Absolutely loved them. Great thoughts. I know you guys are going crazy with the Rocky comparisons, but you got to understand, I mean, it's right here, the poster. I absolutely love them. Did you notice the similarity with with Creed 2, where, you know, Ivan Drago's going to throw in that towel, and where Cabalon is just beating the bricks out of Vimbuli, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, a lot of similarities, but I'm not saying it was taken from it. It's just, it had a lot of stuff in this film, a lot of good. I love the training out on the beach with the guy with a different style. I thought that was fantastic. I love the, the transition with, I don't know if he put on the weight or if that was completely a suit or makeup, but that was still fantastically put on the weight because he really conditioned himself to that. I thought Arya, I didn't really mention him too much. He was just so focused the entire time that you really couldn't see a lot of range because it wasn't calling for it, because he was just that guy who had so much pride. But then when he had this fall, you definitely got to see his acting range. So I thought that was really impressive. So many great things about this film. Let us know what you guys think about it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's go ahead and give this a grade. I'm going to easily give this an A. I can't give it an A+. I'm sure a lot of people on our fan base will give it an A+. I didn't love it that much, but I loved it a whole lot. An A is my second highest grade, and that's what I'm getting this film.
Man, dude, again, I got to be real to myself. And as good as this film was, the storytelling was, just the technicality of the boxing bothered me so much. And that's just me. That's my personal
turn it off.
opinion. You know what I mean? And because of that, I can't put in the A range. To me, it's a B minus. It's a B minus. Okay, and I don't know. I don't even remember what I gave 2 fine. I don't grade films like that. That's just how I am. The storytelling was amazing. Because really think about it, Nick. They could have done the same with anything other than boxing. They could have told the same story, and it couldn't have been boxing, and it would have been different. Why have boxing? Something that I remember. I remember talking about that very first night is how in Creed, right? Michael B. Jordan, who's an actor, and I get it. You can't. Most boxers box because they can't act. That's real, cousin. All right. Most of them can't speak right. But most actors act because, most fighters fight because they don't have the talent to act. But one of the things that the Creed films have done well is that they bring in real fighters to cover up the flaws of Adonis Creed, who is played by Michael B. Jordan. But Michael B. Jordan has really done a lot to put himself in there with fighters, including taking real shots. Look it up on the internet. He got dropped. He got put to sleep filming the scene because they wanted to be as authentic as it could be. So he's in there, with real fighters who are throwing with real shots, and you miss the choreography for 1 second, and you don't turn at the right second, and instead of being this, it was boom. He really caught that, fell asleep. It's one of the funniest videos I've ever seen, but he was so candid about it. And when they asked him, I remember him getting interviewed on Good Morning America about it. He said, how did you feel after that? Did you want to stunt double? He said, no, I wanted the authenticity of the film. That's what Sly expects of me. But I was really thinking, good thing I can act for a living. Yeah, because boxing, it's a hard learn. Trust me, it's a hard way to earn a living. So again, you know what I mean? Going back to those things, again, not to compare it to Creed or Rocky or whatever, but some of the best films bring in real fighters because they're able to cover up the flaws of the actor that's playing a fighter, if that makes sense. So again, that's my thought of it. And I wish they would have done that, or at least just not use the boxing and use something else. It could have been wrestling. It could have been something that did not have to do with this, have to do with boxing, if that makes sense. But that's my personal opinion. Again, I love the storytelling, and I got to be true to my grade. I think that any fighter who stepped in the ring would agree with me that the boxing wasn't authentic. But enough about my opinion or Nick's opinion. Let us know in the comments below what you guys think. All right, let us know if you guys enjoyed this film, if you agreed with me about the boxing, if you disagreed with me, if you're like, Gabe, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, all right, well, I don't know what I'm talking about, but you know what I mean? But any last thoughts? I'll give you the last word, Nick.
I really love the film. I love the story. And I think that's what, for me at least, I'm a story guy. And this had so much of it, so much character development, so much journeys with these characters. If I'm going to watch a 3-hour movie, I want to be able to enjoy the ride. I enjoyed the ride. Let us know what you think of this film. Comment below. And until next time,
we know all things.